Oh, looks like we're live. Welcome to A Growing Concern. We got about 7 clips or 7 little pictures that I took off the internet that are on the, we'll get the websites to you here in a little bit. Actually, I got these off Facebooks, but there are websites up that deal with the occupation that's going on in New York right now, the occupation of Wall Street. People have had enough.
First you told us only through you could we know God, and if we dared to question, then he wouldn't spare the rod. For you we worked the soil, for you we dug the moors, for you we shed our blood, fought so many pointless wars. And now you build your fences and you say there's nothing we can do. You say the world around us belongs fairly to the few, but about 6 billion people no doubt will agree this world is our home, not your property. It's the commons, our right of birth, and you who would enclose the land all around the earth. Our future is your downfall when we cut this ball and chain. You who'd sacrifice the public good for your private gains with our sweat we get the rest.
That's somewhere over there.
Sean Bell!
Sean Bell!
Kenny Longo!
Kenny Longo!
Nicholas Hayward Jr.!
Nicholas Hayward Jr.
Indiana Jones!
Indiana Jones!
Amadou Diallo!
Amadou Diallo!
Eleanor Bumpers!
You claim to own the harvest with your Terminator seeds. You claim to own the genomes of every animal that breeds. You claim to own our culture and the music that we play, and with each song that we down to your coffers we must pay. You'd even own my name and you'd say it's for the best. Maybe you'll let us on your radio, have our songs and pass your test. You own country, you own western, you say you've given us a choice. You may own the airwaves, but you'll never own my voice. It's the commons.
We didn't get a chance to actually let folks know, but that video was a live feed that's going on. What is it? www.livestream.com/Global Revolution. And that's what's going on. It's going on live. It's 24 hours a day as far as I know, and sometimes they play footage from past days, but that looked to me like it was live stream. www.livestream.com/Global Revolution. But I'm sitting here with Sandy on my right and Mindy. Just blanked on Mindy. You're the one I've talked to. So,
that's okay.
But you folks are going back to join the Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
heading to New York, I believe, on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And
You're driving back?
Yeah, we're going up to New York, and then we're heading down to it's the D.C. October 6, 2011 occupation of Washington, D.C.
And that's coincidental with the October 6th Occupy Portland then too as well.
Right.
What's going on.
Yeah.
So, you folks are you going to go back there specifically, I guess is the right word, to get arrested, or are you just going back there to participate?
Well, to participate, we feel that it's really essential for the numbers to be very large in both New York City and Washington, D.C. Portland, the West Coast, has a long history of being very well attended events and demonstrations and rallies, very successful here. But we believe that most people on the East Coast are not going to demonstrations like they need to since we invaded Iraq in 2003.
Because that's where all the population is. You can make a good case for moving the nation's capital more towards the center of the country, which when they established it, there it was.
Right.
Things have
Philadelphia.
changed a lot. We got to go 3,000 miles. A lot of folks don't have the time. I take it you might be retired or something. You're able to do
Yeah, I'm
this.
semi-retired, and the other business section has been, not happening at all because nobody has any money. All my customers are,
This is part of the reason
can't
why
do it.
people are
Right.
there.
That's right, exactly.
Right.
Well, you mentioned the word numbers. I saw something saying 700 people, but one of those photographs, I don't know if the ones that we got up there, because we were kind of trying to get too many things going at once and kind of fumbled the ball a little. There's been thousands of people there, it
Right.
seems like to me.
There has been, and the media, but we have to expect, is always going to lowball the numbers. And in fact, the San Francisco
Yeah, they had-
Examiner.
Yeah, they had an event Thursday
Oh, there we go.
in San Francisco.
There's the picture right
Wow,
there.
that's
and
it.
you can see right down the
Yeah,
center,
the
those are all
side
people,
streets.
and then
Wow.
they're up along the side streets. Now, I
Holy
guess that's
smoke.
Wall Street, maybe?
Wow.
You
No,
know,
they were
when-
kept from Wall Street.
When was that?
Okay. That was, I don't know. I took the picture off of Facebook.
Okay.
I forget the Facebook page, but if you go to Facebook and type in any kind of name having to
Yeah,
do with Occupy Wall
Occupy,
Street,
right.
I'm sure you'll come up with it. And then, there was thousands of people there, and that was
Yeah.
might have been in the beginning, but like the one that happened in D.C. for what was it, 2 weeks or so, when they were there doing the tar sands and
right,
the XL pipeline and
stop
all
the
that.
pipeline.
Over 1,000 people got arrested there, and
Right.
still not a peep.
No.
Right, the media just doesn't say anything.
Right.
I guess
if it's on the left and happening, they
Right.
blot you out. If it's on the right, it's a tea party, and then they just go berserk.
Yeah, you get three
Right.
people with
You
their
know.
dog at a tea party rally,
And they zoom in on that and they go, oh, this is the group.
and it's not even
Right.
Fox; it's all of them that are.
Exactly. Well, I mean, look at who owns the corporations. The General Electric owns NBC. You've got Disney owning ABC. It's just when you have consolidated media down into a few hands, they can tell us, anything and we'll believe it. We are just totally in the dark. I mean, not we, but most people in society are in the dark about what's happening in New York.
Well, John Edwards, it's a dirty word to some people, but when he was running for president, before he fell from grace, he talked about two Americas. And he was talking about the rich and the poor. But then again, you can talk about the people on one side that get all their news from corporate sources and the people that get their news from other sources. And they're two different worlds.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like a parallel universes that know different things.
Sure,
And
like this live stream thing that's going on right now that people
Yeah.
can tune in, and I was watching it a bit earlier today. There were so many people there that the people that were speaking would say a sentence, and it didn't need to be translated, but it needed to be
Shouted.
and then somebody 100 feet away, they would shout it, and then somebody another 100 feet away
Well,
would shout it. With so many people, that's how they communicate.
But that's because the city of New York has forbidden any audible equipment to be used. So that's because the law is trumping their free speech privilege.
Right, but their creativity is trumping the law.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of human intervention, is when you get people together who, what is it, necessity is the mother of invention, right?
And a rock group.
Yeah, right. But so that's what is needed. And actually, from your last story on the water situation, we really need a door-to-door canvassing. We need to let people know, because the Oregonian is not going to share this information with Portlanders and people in Wilsonville and all over the region that are going to be impacted by this. So it really is about face-to-face interaction.
Speaking of face-to-face interactions, some of those photographs that I had were of them three cops mauling this young woman. And so you're aware that what's going on back there is indiscriminately being maced. Lawrence O'Donnell, I guess is his name, on MSNBC, has just been going livid about what's been, there we go, look at that.
Right.
And this isn't the one that Lawrence O'Donnell's going on about, but there's this one officer, and he's a fairly high up in the echelons of the hierarchy, has been videotaped macing people for no reason.
That's Captain Bologna.
Oh,
That's his
how could I
name,
forget?
right?
There we go.
Right.
You are 8 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than by a terrorist attack.
Yeah. I've just spent the last year in Oakland, California, and I can attest to that. The numbers of cops killing citizens I've never experienced anything like it in my life in the Bay Area. It's just a free-for-all. I'm not used to it.
It's not even just cops. It's that was that rapid transit, BART.
BART
Well, they're
cops.
cops. They're state cops.
Yeah.
So
So, I mean, this is, everything is going haywire. So for us to not attend Occupy events when they are being called on, we have to attend, and we have to let others know. We have to get out the word,
Well, that's the only way it can be done. Like what happened last weekend. I don't have any footage of it now. I did put up some footage on my YouTube page, youtube.com/philosopherseed. I taped 2 breakout sessions, but there was the moving planet that we talked about briefly last week on the show. 168 countries.
Wow.
Had different rallies. Here they had the talking, and they did a parade and different things. A flash dance, or no, was it whatever the word?
Mob flash.
Yeah,
Yes.
flash mob. But other countries, there was photographs on a 350.org of from all over the country. Vietnam. There was the Orient, in Asia, in some of your Mideastern countries, and incredible amount of places where thousands, millions of people were doing what they're doing, what they did for the XL pipeline in D.C., and what they're doing right now to occupy Wall Street. And I didn't hear a peep about it anywhere. Maybe there was some, because I'm not there watching every bit of broadcast or corporate.
I would bet a lot of money that it wasn't on NBC, CNBC. I bet you any amount of money it wasn't, even with their international stations. It wouldn't have come over here. So.
yeah, PBS and BBC are almost virtually the same, little on the fringe of the corporate media.
Right.
And it's just they're
because
a portion
of
of
their
it.
sponsors.
And when you're outside of that, then you get the information like Democracy Now! And Common Dreams, and various
Link
that draw
TV and
from
Real News Network.
journalism across the world, and then you hear the real story.
That's the
what
other
I listen to.
America.
Right.
The America that public access is a part of, and has been a part of for 25 or so years. But unfortunately, public access is been lost in a lot of cities throughout the country. It's been they're trying to take it away in Beaverton. They take it away from some very shenanigans by the city council taking away part of the money, or there's a bunch of different ways that they do it. Luckily, Portland Community Media and Metro East are powerful, and the city councils are on board with that. But LA, I think, lost theirs, and 40% of the funding for Tucson and all these different places, and we really depend upon, unfortunately, the technology of the satellite now.
Right.
Amy Goodman on free speech, and Link TV, and there's others as well.
Al Jazeera even. We watched Al Jazeera.
Are they covering what's going on in this country?
Well, I'm not sure, but when
think they are,
Egypt was happening, I would stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning just to see how their day was taking off, and it was very exciting, and that was due to the internet.
Well, people think that the people in this country are fed up, and that's why they're in the streets.
Right.
But what's going on in the streets of New York and in D.C. and in Portland and in L.A. and a lot of these other cities that occupations are going on, they're taking their momentum as much from what happened in the Near East as what happened in this country with our revolution.
Right. Right.
The Tea Party tried to scam out on the fact that no taxation without representation. They tried to pretend that they were a patriotic movement. But what's going on in D.C. and in New York, to me, and what you folks are doing, are showing a greater love for your country than standing out there waving a sign, snarling at the government.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well,
We need to get out, and be a
Right.
force on the street, and be identifiable, and get to a place where other people are understanding what's happening as well. And we
Yeah.
break through that. I think we're hoping that this
Right. This movement.
Occupy is going to be in all these cities across the country and happening at the same time, and the second bubble is going to be here. I think I've heard in the next 6 months, first 3 months of next year is going to be this big crisis, and the bubble's going to break, and capitalism is having a crisis.
So is it a banking crisis, you mean?
Banking crisis, financial crisis, and Europe is going to be solving it because they're going to force the banks to pay up. And in the
We
U.S.,
won't do that.
we're covering up
No,
that.
right.
And what we're saying
It will
is
be selling off every asset we own, forests, every federal building, every public piece of land will be up for auction.
Well, it's what we've been doing all along. I mean, but the Forest Service has been allowing concessions to come into the different forests, and they're allowing like they're selling off Bagby now to a concession to come in there and run that. This has been going on a small scale already.
Oh yeah, but now, I mean, it's your last guest, Nancy, said it's the shock doctrine. I mean, that is reality. When there is a crisis, you take advantage of it. That's when you start moving ahead. I'm not sure if you're aware of ALEC, ALEC, the organization that was just revealed, that was formed several years ago, and it's made up of members of Congress and state and federal level, and they have an agenda. It's like a business agenda.
they write the laws.
Right, and then they give them to
And
the
they pass them on.
legislators, and then they pass them. And when you look around the country, you see similar legislation being passed, almost word for word. And it is basically a privatization movement.
Like what's going on, I was watching TV today earlier about what's going on all over the country when the right wing is trying to redesign how people vote and make people have driver's license to
Right, photo ID.
all these different laws that are going on. And photo ID is one thing to keep people that are poor or elderly and don't have need for a driver's license, and
Right.
and that is one way to do it. And the way they apportion the actual the populations, they can change that.
Right.
That's what the ex pesticide dealer from Texas. That's what Tom DeLay.
Oh,
that's what
right,
he got.
the hammer.
And the hammer. That's what he got put in jail for.
Right.
Or at least got found guilty.
No.
of.
He's not in jail, and he will
Right.
never serve.
Right, but
And
he got
this is-
found guilty.
and this-
That's what he was doing,
right.
is reapportioning things.
But this is legal, and this is the reason why we have to stop relying on elections. I mean, 2012 November, a lot can happen between now and then. It's over a year away. I mean, by that time, we'll still have two choices, and that's, it's the lesser evil or greater evil. I can't even tell the difference anymore because I keep hearing Obama has just upped the ante on a different crime. We just killed, or the CIA drone just killed an American-born cleric in Yemen today. So where does that put him on the spectrum up against George Bush? George Bush couldn't have gotten away with that, but yet Obama is getting away with it?
Well, that's why they put somebody in from the right, and then they put somebody in the left. I mean,
If they were the
just-
left, but it's not. And the problem is our language, I think, is really faltering. I've learned a lot from Noam Chomsky, and he talks about the importance of using your words, choosing your words carefully. Because if we label these things inappropriately, then we really don't have a way to communicate properly.
That's true. That's true. We got about 7 minutes left, and I was thinking if you have, did you have something you wanted?
To push the fact that not only is there this Occupy Wall Street, but now there's Occupy Portland.
Yeah.
Right, we should talk about
Yes.
It's going on right now. The General
A
Assembly.
General
Organization.
Assembly meeting.
Yeah, there's a General Assembly meeting at the north part of the park.
Waterfront
and it's
Park.
happening from 7 on.
Right.
into the
So
evening.
we'll be heading over there.
All right,
Since
so,
we're here.
well,
And
See how
then,
that-
and then because of, I believe, the attacks from last weekend by the police on the women in New York City, this has spawned this Occupy movement. There's an organization on Facebook called Occupy Together, and you can get on that page and see all of the occupation movements around the country. And I just heard there's one in Eugene today.
No surprise there.
It's a small amount, but it's a start. There's even Occupy Omaha, in one of our things that we want to do as we cross the country is stop in towns along
Kansas
the way
City, St. Louis.
where they
It's
have
all over
these
the place.
occupations and show our solidarity with them. I mean, I would never assume Omaha, Nebraska would have an occupation.
No, but then again, it wasn't too long ago that it might have been Omaha, Nebraska, it might have been Nebraska or Iowa, passed a gay marriage law.
Yeah.
Not too long ago. Well, that was a shock. So
Wow.
you just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know.
That's true. Very true.
And you may find as much solidarity going through those red states, you know.
Oh, yes.
It wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Oh, I campaigned in 2004 for Ralph Nader, and I was a corporate crime buster van driver, and I drove from Oakland to Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and Utah. And the one state that I really did not look forward to traveling to was Utah. And turned out Utah was our best state. It had the most socialist, independent people in Salt Lake City, and we had a great support network there. And it was far better than Montana, which I had thought from their vote in 2000 that it would have been a good support. It was terrible. But
well, you
never know.
You never predict, and you know, people are pretty upset right now, and as you both are, and that's why you're going back there. You know, if you were to put it in a sentence or two, why do you think people are finally doing this back there?
I think that it's just capitalism is a bust. It's a real crisis, and it shows itself, you know. Everybody, the lower 80% is suffering terribly. The top 20 are doing okay, and the top 5 or so are just making out like
making
bandits.
banks, literally.
Yeah.
And,
Banksters.
They are.
And they don't share, and consequently government gets defunded, we get defunded, our programs get bad. They say, oh, it's getting worse, so we'll have to fix it for you, and it gets worse, and then we don't have a government anymore. We have a giant corporation. And this is, you know, I think this is sinking in with all the people losing their houses and losing their jobs and going, what's happening? Why are they saying the stock market's okay and the economy is coming back when everybody is suffering, except for the people on the top? And they just don't pay any attention.
There's too Americans.
That's
Right.
So I've been trying to pass on tax the rich, you know, in the last, say, 2 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, it resonates with people.
There was a sign in a rally the other day I was at said, "Sacrifice the rich."
Yeah, I read one.
Eat the rich. You know,
if what is it? If I get too poor, then I won't have anything to eat, and the only thing I can eat is the rich. So you know, I mean, you know,
that's class war.
And, that's the other joke is that the rich people are actually saying that there is a class war against them. I mean, you know, the audacity. Yeah,
as versus the 99%.
Right.
That's just really weird. How can that be a class
The one
warfare?
market that is doing extremely well right now is the luxury market. Items, high-priced items are up.
I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised. You know, you mentioned something about there's supposed to be a meltdown after the first of the year. Well, you know, the last meltdown, the people that caused it are the ones that profited from it.
Right.
And so, from what you're saying, is it looks like they're designing another one. They want to take another big bite.
Well, it's already happened. As far as I'm concerned, it happened previously, and the second bubble's coming along. They refunded. They just reloaded. They didn't really change much of anything, and they just have reloaded. They're doing the same stop gambling, you know, casino capitalism they've been doing all along, and they're making more money. So it goes up, goes down. But this one won't be supportable because there's no. They've gone through the money. They've gone through the base money. You know, debt is too high, and nobody will buy bonds. Nobody will invest, and they'll sit there and freeze. It's like if the U.S. corporations and banks freak out that Europe is going to have the banks bail out the people, they're going to freak, pull all their money. They'll be stuck with nowhere to invest, and the Chinese will pull out because they know we're not going to be able to pay off our debts, and we're going to have, this is going to be the crash. And they can't, we'll have to redesign the entire society.
Well, you know, like taking a tip from Chomsky, calling things like they are, we don't really have capitalism anymore anyway.
I don't think we've ever had
it.
It's corporate socialism. That's what it is. And we've always had it. From the 80s when we bailed out Chrysler, I mean, you go through every decade and you see where something has been bailed out, a corporation. And it's never been bailing out the public. Remember in 1976, I believe, New York City was broke. And the government, the federal government said, tough luck. And they weren't bailed out.
Right. And I remember that. And on top of that, you got things like Bank of America who don't pay any taxes, but they get a tax refund.
Right.
And you get multinational corporations like the Exxon and these that are making billions are getting tax breaks and kickbacks.
Right.
So
to offshore jobs.
Right. This is exactly why people are in where you're going to be going right now.
We need to occupy. Everybody needs to occupy. Please. Your job is not that important in the long run if you have nothing. you know, but dominoes falling around you. So this
Yeah,
is
privatized world. It's not going to be any fun for anybody to live in.
Well, I've often said that the World War III is happening right now. It's between corporations and democracy, and it's ideologies. It's not nationalities, and it was probably never really was nationalities. There was a lot going on behind the scenes back during those wars that mainly just making money off munitions. But I want to thank you folks for coming in. We got a little under a minute now.
Thank you.
You got a little soundbite for the folks out there?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Justice Louis Brandeis once said, he was a Supreme Court justice, you can have democracy or you can have concentrated power in the hands of a few, but you can't have both.
And we know right now where the folks are back in New York. They're concentrated power of the people.
Democracy is happening there.
All right, you got a quick soundbite?
Yeah. I would say for people in Portland, go to the Portland Occupy Facebook page, and in one day it went from 3,000 to 5,000, and it's over 5,000 now.
Right.
So in one day, that's one day.
I think I've got that here. I think it is www.occupyportland.org. And so, I don't know. All right, John Lennon, he told us what it's all about.
Yeah.
All right.